I wanted to just share a few historical vignettes with you. Our distinguished leader, my predecessor, Whitney M. Young, was a very close colleague of Dr. Martin Luther King III. Whitney actually knew Coretta King before he knew Martin King, because in the late 1950s, Whitney lived in Atlanta as the dean of the School of Social Work at Atlanta University. And it was in those formative years when Dr. King in the 1950s was beginning to do some of the most important work of the 20th century that he and Whitney Young built a working relationship. So when Whitney Young became president of the National Urban League in 1961, he made an important decision, and that was that the National Urban League was going to become a full partner with Dr. King and the Southern Christian Leadership Conference in the effort to finally dismantle segregation in America. Whitney Young and the National Urban League proudly were part of what was then known as the Big Six, the 6 leading civil rights organizations who together convened the March on Washington. If one looks closely at Dr. King's 1963 speech at the Lincoln Memorial, and you look down to Dr. King's right or left-hand side at the podium, you will see Whitney Young, who was also a speaker at the March on Washington. Whitney Young, who was with Dr. King in Selma in 1965, and Whitney Young, who tragically just 3 years after Dr. King's death lost his own life in a drowning accident in Lagos, Nigeria. I'm so proud that the young professionals have reaffirmed the long-standing relationship between Dr. King's movement and the work of the National Urban League. And that commitment to freedom, to justice, and to equality for all people. So we come to the King Center to place a wreath here. A wreath in memory of not only Dr. Martin Luther King, but I think also Coretta Scott King, his partner in life, who with her children have nurtured and built this powerful legacy of the King Center as a permanent part of Dr. King's legacy. So young professionals, in these difficult and troubled times, let us be reminded that Dr. King counseled us to be thermostats and not thermometers. To be thermostats and not thermometers. Not to be people who simply try to take the temperature, figure out the way of the wind, and follow that direction. But people who sought to set the temperature of the room, set the climate in the nation. And at this point, that climate has to be about economic empowerment, economic equality, and jobs for all people. A time to end this increase in joblessness, homelessness, and this increase in poverty that has stricken this nation in the 21st century. So we are all proud to be here, Martin. We salute your work and the work of this center, and we reaffirm the historic relationship between the National Urban League and the work of Dr. Martin Luther King.